get you in the mood for today's episode. Check this out.
Now, a motion picture so grand, so magnificent, and so vast, it spans 7,000 years.
No way! Yes way!
But it starts with Bill.
Bill has Preston!
Who is Joan of Arc? And Ted.
Bill's wife? We're in danger of flunking
Mood for today's episode. Check this out.
A force from the future.
Can we go anywhere we want, anytime?
A motion picture so grand, is put in history, so magnificent, and so vast, it spans 7,000 years.
Hold on, guys.
No way! Yes
No
way!
way.
But it starts with Bill.
Doppelganger.
Preston!
Who is Joan of Arc? And Ted.
Bill's wife? We're in danger of flunking
I've got a tab open that's
Force from the future. Anytime, a motion picture so grand, so magnificent, and so vast, it spans 7,000 years.
hold on, guys.
Yes way!
But it starts with Bill. Who is Joan of Arc? And Ted.
Bill's wife? We're in danger of flunking
I've got a tab open that's it's an old movie.
It does. It looks like Mark.
There we go. Okay.
You got it.
Through time.
How's it going, Royal Ugly Dudes?
Put them in the eye on me.
Excellent!
Execute them.
Focus!
Focus.
How's it going, dudes?
And they're making a big impression.
Historical days.
Now they're home
Everybody get together, remember who your buddy is.
to trash the 20th
Genghis
century.
Khan.
Got a live one here.
Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, Napoleon,
We're from history.
Billy the Kid, Joan of Arc, Sigmund Freud,
Tell me about your mother.
You a musician?
Beethoven,
Genghis Khan!
Abraham Lincoln,
Party on, dudes!
Socrates, George Carlin,
We're history.
If you guys are really us, what number are we thinking of? 69, dudes! Oh,
Bill and Ted's
excellent! Excellent!
Excellent Adventure.
Party on, dude.
All right. Party on, dudes. All right, we got episode 69. Welcome. It's Tuesday night. It's time for The Filter, where we get together every week and talk about all the Bitcoin headlines and try and make sense of it all. Tonight's episode is Bitcoin and Bali's Excellent Adventure. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the Bitcoin time machine to go back in time and try and find out if there are any personages of historical significance in the Bitcoin world. So anyway, that is the theme of tonight's show. We've also got some local news to share, yeah. Once we go through that, we'll go through the price, and then we'll go through. We'll take a ride on the Bitcoin time machine. So let's kick things off. All right. So we are coming to you live from Hubud, the most excellent co-working place in downtown Ubud. They are nice enough to give us a place to have our meeting every week in the cool conference room. So if you ever find yourself in Bali, I hope you'll come join us in person at Hubud. You can learn more at hubud.org. And speaking of Hubud, next weekend, all weekend, 54 hours straight, we're going to have the Startup Weekend Bali. I and some other local Bitcoin folks are going to try and plant some Bitcoin seeds and see if we can't get at least one of the projects to involve Bitcoin in some way. So we shall see if that'll work or not. But I've had lots of people come up to me and say, I've got a Bitcoin idea. So maybe it'll happen. We shall see. Hopefully I will not be too strung out next Tuesday from spending all weekend working on Bitcoin projects at Hubud. So if you're interested in that and you haven't joined up, you can do it right at the front desk after the meeting. All right. Here's a historical thing that happened. We had Bitcoin 101 this past Saturday, and we had a full house. And I kid you not, I was sitting here 5 minutes before the start, and it was like crickets. There were tumbleweeds going through here. I thought I was going to get a big donut, thought nobody was going to show, and we had a full house. We had 15 people come to the Bitcoin 101. So what does that mean? That's 15 more people walking around Ubud, buying sandwiches and renting scooters and getting tattoos on Bitcoin, taking part in the Bitcoin economy. Oh, yeah. And, of course, we're going to do it again next month. So on December 12th of next month, we're going to have our next Bitcoin 101, and hopefully it'll be standing room only. Tell your friends, tell anyone that you think might be interested. We start from scratch. We assume people know nothing about Bitcoin, and at the end, we magically turn our Bitcoins into a sandwich over at the Onion. It's pretty cool.
And then you can turn it into a sandwich Kismet too.
Yes, yes. Although Kismet's closed, a little public service announcement.
Then.
Oh, until then, that's when they open. Oh, interesting. I have to go check out their new setup. All right. There's the registration page for Bitcoins in Bali to attend 101. You gotta register to let us know you're coming. So I'll put that link in the show notes. Elsewhere in local news, our local boy made good. Johnny Freesh has got his music up on this site called BitTunes, where you can buy music with Bitcoin. He said it was a lengthy approval process. Maybe they didn't like his fuck bank. I don't know. Maybe that didn't make the cut.
It was all about
Maybe it's a family show.
rainbows.
Yeah. Maybe all of his unicorns and rainbows songs made it, and the stuff that where he doesn't like his bank, maybe they had to like take a moment to bleep it out. Anyway, I think that's pretty cool. I went to the site to try and support him by buying his music there, and I kind of struck out. I think there were some usability problems there. But anyway, okay, let's get into the price. We are sitting in Indonesia. So hello, Sabine, welcome. We are sitting in Indonesia, so let's look at the Indonesian price first. 4,359,900 rupiah. And in return for that, all you get is one Bitcoin. Just one Bitcoin in return for hundreds of millions of rupiah. Yes, yes, that's the current price. The US dollar price is at 334, so that's down a little bit. I think last week we were at 377. We've got a very volatile Bitcoin price lately. Last week it was much higher than it is today, but you never know. Yes, yes, we're living above 300, which is much more exciting than the previous 6 months. Were we below, or like around?
What, we started the year at 2.22.
Yeah.
And we're at 33.
All right,
Good.
I like it. Okay, so let's see. So with Bitcoin, it's the only money where everybody knows exactly what's going on at all times. There are exactly 14,849,275 Bitcoins at the moment. Now, you can't do that with other types of money. You never know how many dollars there are in the world or how many euros there are in the world. But with Bitcoin, it's a transparent system. You know exactly how many there are. And of course, every 10 minutes, there's 25 new Bitcoins, and whoever's out there participating in the system that happens to solve the Bitcoin puzzle for that block, they get $8,000 worth of Bitcoin. So every 10 minutes, there's about $8,000 worth of new Bitcoin in the world. So think about that when you think about the price. Every day that the price stays the same, there's thousands, if not, well, I don't know how much that ends up being per day, but every day that the price stays the same, it's absorbing all of those new Bitcoins that are used to incentivize people to participate, right? Okay. Bitcoin transactions. These are the Bitcoin transactions going all the way back to January 2009 when Bitcoin was born, right? And we're going to take the time machine back to that date a little bit later. But for now, you can see what has happened since then. We've got transaction volume approaching 250,000 per day, right? So, and you see these two spikes here. There's a controversy going on in Bitcoin right now where we've got a scalability problem. We've got a technical limit of 7 transactions per second. And because we have that problem, because we need to fix that problem, and because Bitcoin lives in the wild, somebody decided to give Bitcoin a stress test, like a denial of service test for the Bitcoin protocol. That's what happened at this spike and this spike. See these two spikes there? Let's maybe I can get this a little bit more in focus. So this spike, that was a stress test, and this spike was a second stress test. And essentially, somebody gave away, like, I don't know, $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, 1/100th of a Bitcoin at a time, right? And published all of his private keys, and then everybody claimed all those Bitcoins, and it created all this transaction volume on the network. But Bitcoin survived, I'm happy to say. There were some problems. I was using Bitcoin during that time, and I experienced some delays. Sometimes you know, the way Bitcoin works is all of these computers around the world have to agree on who owns what Bitcoins, and when the pipes get jammed with transactions, then sometimes you have to wait a little longer than you like. So the interesting thing about this graph, though, is this spike, which wasn't a stress test. That was just China having a feeding frenzy on Bitcoin, driving the price up to $500.
It wasn't on China because this was last week. When it was 500, everybody was like selling and buying, and many friends of mine also wanted to sell, and it was terrible. So
yeah, did people get stuck holding the bag?
yeah,
Or they?
No, our transactions didn't come through, and it was such a chaos. And then you see that Bitcoin is not viable. This is like the maximum it can take.
Right.
And it was a very good demonstration that if they don't make a decision about something, they don't go much further than here.
Right. So for those of you, just to do a little bit of explaining, Bitcoin is not, there's no central authority for Bitcoin. So there's nobody that can come in and solve this problem without getting everybody that participates in the system to agree. So everyone is aware of this problem, and there's lots of viable fixes that are possible, but they have different economic impacts on different vested interests in the Bitcoin ecosystem. And therefore, nothing has happened. And so, you know, Bitcoin was the first digital currency that didn't have a central authority, and now we're seeing if that can actually work in the world or not, because it may very well be that that we can't come to a consensus and make the kind of changes we need to fix this problem. There was a really interesting post by our man Willy Woo, who essentially said that the actual limit is a lot less than 7 transactions per second, because transactions are getting, the information that people are packing into their transactions is more and more, as there are multiple inputs, multiple outputs, and also multiple signature transactions where different people need to sign in order for things to be, in order for funds to be moved. So
we got an efficiency problem.
we've got a political problem too, because we have to be able to solve technical problems in a politically digestible way, and that's really what we're learning how to do. And it's fascinating to see all the behind-the-scenes flame wars on Reddit and on Bitcoin Talk, and we'll see if we can ever take a step forward or not. All right. Okay, so I know it doesn't look like it, but we are ready to time machine. That's what we've got right here. This is the entire life of Bitcoin. This is the Bitcoin price going all the way to the present, but we're going to use the time machine to go way back, way back to January 2009, when Bitcoin was worth 8.5 cents. Now, this is when they turned Bitcoin on. So how do you think they came up with a price for Bitcoin when it was like 2 guys using it? Yeah, that's a good question, isn't it? Well, what I've read is that they've taken the computing power and the electricity that it took to create these coins, and then took the cost of that and divided it by the number of coins that they created, and that's how they gave it an initial price. So at first, someone was, over the course of time, spending 8.5 cents for each Bitcoin that came into existence. So kind of interesting way to look at things.
Sounds a little bit
It does. It does. It does.
possible.
We did an
8 cents is 1 kilowatt.
yeah, 8 cents per kilowatt. Is that?
Yeah.
Do you think that's
That's the
like
price in America. The normal.
That's the normal price.
So, what is a lot of time?
you know, a week or two ago, somebody did an analysis of all the electricity that's has been used over the course of, or the life of Bitcoin, and each transaction was costing like $80 when you calculate it that way at certain points in time. So yeah, fascinating, huh? Externalized costs. Okay, but let's look at things in a different way. Does anybody know what we're looking at here? This is a one Bitcoin address on the blockchain, and if I scroll down to the very first transaction, no inputs. This is the Genesis block, folks. This is 50 Bitcoins were awarded to somebody who was participating in the Bitcoin network. At this point in time, there was only 2 people participating in the Bitcoin network. So in all likelihood, these Bitcoins belong to the mysterious founder of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. And
What's his name?
or Hal Finney.
Yeah.
So what's interesting about this is, back in the day, in 2009, every time the Bitcoin network or someone on the Bitcoin network solved the puzzle, they got 50 Bitcoins. And this was the first one, no inputs. This is the first guy. In all likelihood, belongs to Satoshi Nakamoto, and these Bitcoins have never left. They've never been moved, and today they are worth approximately $16,840.
Pretty good return on investment.
Yeah, so
We're sending this transaction is from August.
this is just spam. This is just people sending, they'll put like a little note, hey, Satoshi, why don't you send me some Bitcoin, change my life. You can attach a little bit of text to any Bitcoin transaction. And so people are just sending a transaction, hey, Satoshi, change my life, send me some Bitcoins. Yeah, why not return the favor? He sent 3 cents. He sent 3 cents worth.
We should just send a hi from Bitcoins in Bali.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what's interesting about that is anything you write, if we were to do that, anything we write there would be permanently written
For history.
forever and ever.
Yep.
And
From Bitcoins in
But
Bali.
not many wallets support this. I think blockchain info supports it, but the other wallets it's not readily available.
No commenting.
right, the wallets don't show
Which is
that,
good, yeah.
probably. Okay, so that was our little trip back to the Genesis block.
Excellent.
Excellent. Oh, wait, where's my
Where's your little
I screwed up because I was trying to close that. Here we go.
Excellent.
Okay. All right. So fast forward, or actually, we need to go back a little bit because that was the first time they were running the Bitcoin software. But even before that, we had Satoshi Nakamoto, the mysterious founder of Bitcoin, published a paper called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. 9 pages. Anybody can go out and read this thing. And I'm just going to read the first little bit to you here. A purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. Digital signatures provide part of the solution, but the main benefits are lost if a trusted third party is still required to prevent double spending. We propose a solution to the double spending problem using a peer-to-peer network. The network timestamps transactions by hashing them into an ongoing chain, that's the blockchain, of hash-based proof of work, forming a record that cannot be changed without redoing all of the proof of work. The longest chain not only serves as proof of the sequence of events witnessed, but proof that it came from the largest pool of CPU power. As long as a majority of CPU power is controlled by nodes that are not cooperating to attack the network, they'll generate the longest chain and outpace attackers. The network itself requires minimal structure. Messages are broadcast on a best effort basis, and nodes can leave and rejoin the network at will, accepting the longest proof of work chain as proof of what happened while they were gone. So I know there's a little bit of technical speak there, but if you break it apart, what he's saying is that you can have a system that all of these computers that are participating agree on, because they're all using proof of work or solving that little puzzle that I mentioned in order to create or make amendments to the end of this chain of blocks where they store the transactions. So very simple idea. He only has to elaborate for another 9 pages for the benefit of the people on this message board where he published this. And by this was published in October of 2008, and by January they had a working system, right? So people read this paper. He just published this paper, and people read it, and they had an implementation in January of 2009. So pretty amazing. So let's take a look at these people. Satoshi Nakamoto is a pseudonym of a person or group of people. Some people think it's not just one guy. In fact, a lot of the really smart people that were involved from the very beginning, because he's the one that did a bulk of the development work, like the person that actually published a working version of Bitcoin to begin with, the one that's still running today, or at least the one that began the blockchain that we all observe still today. He did it. And he's either a genius or it's several people. Some people cite a patent that was applied for earlier in 2008 that's very similar. There's 3 guys that I had never heard of. I just learned about these guys in doing research for this study. I didn't have enough time to learn enough about them to tell you about it. But if you're interested in like this mystery of who this guy is, it's interesting to go back and take a look at some of these patent applications. Incidentally, in 2008, or I'm sorry, in August of 2008 is when the bitcoin.org web domain was purchased in an anonymous way. So nobody knows who actually purchased that. Okay. So who was this guy, this mysterious Satoshi, talking to at first? Well, the first guy that he started talking to was this guy, Hal Finney. And unfortunately, Hal Finney died in August of 2014, but not before Bitcoin really took off in a major way. He got to see his baby kind of take off. And you can actually go back and on this site where I found this, it's a Nakamoto Institute. You can actually go back and read all of the emails that Satoshi Nakamoto and Hal Finney exchanged when they were starting to build this thing. It's kind of fascinating. You know, Hal Finney would say, well, what if you have a bad actor and he wants to update the ledger, and then Satoshi would walk him through the logic of how that kind of thing would be foiled. Because remember, what they're proposing is this system just lives out on the internet. I mean, anybody can query the Bitcoin network with any kind of information whatsoever, or they can throw as much at it as they want to. And this service attack, or the stress test, as they called it, Bitcoin has the protocol that they created way back when has to be robust enough to exist in this very dangerous world. So there are lots of things to work out. Adam Back, he's another major player from way back in the day. Adam Back, he's a British cryptographer, but he's the one that created this proof of work system because he was tired of spam. You remember when you first started getting like way too much email? I remember I was using email in college, and I would send my papers to my professors, and You know, it was kind of the early days, and when you got an email, it was actually from somebody that had your email address, and you cared about what they said. And before too long, because they made it open and they made it simple, and they were using it on university campuses to begin with, they didn't do things like keep you from being able to impersonate as somebody else. You know, put somebody else's name in the from line, and also there was essentially no cost to sending an email. So if you had 1 million email addresses, hey, why not? You know, I'll sell them. I'll send out an advertisement for magic cat food, and if 99.9% of them don't care, I don't mind, because one of them does, and I make some money. So what he proposed was to, in order to receive an email, you had to attach what's called a proof of work. So you give your computer a little problem that takes maybe 5 seconds to solve, right? And you only accept email from people who have solved that problem that takes 5 seconds to solve, right? And that's no problem if you're sending email to a friend. 5 seconds, you know, you hit send and it does it for 5 seconds and you never even notice. But if you want to send to 1 million people, there's no way, if you have to wait 5 seconds for each email, that you're going to be able to send. It becomes prohibitively expensive. And by the way, the proof of work system requires a lot of electricity, a lot of CPU cycles, and is prohibitively expensive to send extra email. So he had this proof of work system, and hash cache is what he called that. And that was one of the fundamental pieces of Bitcoin, because proof of work is how the nodes in the Bitcoin network prove that they've found a new block that everybody can then write to. And that's how they award themselves the new block of Bitcoins that are their incentive to participate. Nick Szabo. This guy came up with something called BitGold. In 1998, Szabo designed a mechanism for a decentralized digital currency he called BitGold. BitGold failed to garner widespread support, but has been called a direct precursor to Bitcoin architecture. In Szabo's BitGold scheme, a participant would dedicate computing power to solving cryptographic puzzles. In a BitGold network, solved puzzles would be sent to the Byzantine fault-tolerant public registry and assigned a public key to the solver. And then each solution would become part of the next challenge. That sounds a lot like a blockchain, doesn't it? So a lot of people think this guy is Satoshi Nakamoto, because he did not, although I think some of his work is cited in the Satoshi paper, he was not very active, if I'm not mistaken, in the initial development effort, unless it was him that was Satoshi. So it's he's kind of suspicious in his absence, or conspicuous by his absence in the initial discussions about Bitcoin. So that's Nick Szabo, and now he's very active in the community. He's actually working hard on Ethereum because he's very involved in smart contracts. Incidentally, interesting, a lot of people are concerned about who Satoshi Nakamoto is, and they've gone so far as to analyze his writing. You can actually put a sample of someone's writing through kind of a heuristic statistical analysis, you know, turns of phrase, certain ways of spelling things, certain words, and that analysis of his writing was above everybody else's. So maybe it was Nick Szabo. We don't know. Okay, and I think this is the last guy I've got. Yes, Gavin Andreessen. This guy was also involved from the very beginning, writing code on the initial Bitcoin implementation and exchanging Bitcoins with Hal Finney and Satoshi. And what's interesting about this guy, he's still involved, by the way. He's trying to solve this scalability problem that we've got right now. And he can't, because he's created this wild monster that's Bitcoin, and he doesn't have the power to change it like he did back in the day. But what's interesting about Gavin is, in terms of historical perspective, is he was contacted by the CIA in maybe 2010, and they wanted to know, what is this Bitcoin thing? What are your intentions with it? What are you trying to do? And he agreed to meet with them, and then Satoshi disappeared. You know, Gavin got on and said, hey, the CIA wants to talk to me, and bam, Satoshi evaporated and stopped responding to email and message boards, etc. And by the way, you can go back to that Nakamoto Institute, and you can see all those emails, and you can see the last one that he wrote. It's kind of interesting.
What did he say when Gavin said, I'm going to see the CIA?
Well, there was some interesting exchanges because they were trying to censor WikiLeaks. Do you remember when they were trying to censor WikiLeaks? And then people were saying, oh, we should use Bitcoin to circumvent the barricade, the financial barricade. And he got on and he said, you know, we really don't want that kind of exposure for Bitcoin right now. You know, although it could be used for that, you know, we really don't want the government coming down on us. And then the CIA showed up, and you know, obviously he took great pains to keep his identity secret. And when there were interested parties coming around, he decided to make his exit. But what's interesting is, you know, sometimes when I first talk to people about Bitcoin, they're like, well, what if he like put some code in there where he can steal everybody's Bitcoin later on, or, you know, what's his mastermind going to do? And really, he, you know, the code is all open source, so there's no code that's going to magically give him the Bitcoin sometime later. Although we looked at his Bitcoin that he mined, in all likelihood, he has the keys for that Bitcoin, and you know, there's a large chunk of Bitcoin that never moves. You know, and it's possible that he's sitting on hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars and could maybe make some sort of power play later on. But you know, he couldn't. He would be subject to market forces in that case. He wouldn't be able to change the code. He wouldn't be able to change the consensus algorithm. And well, it'd be really interesting if that would happen. So.
He may just want to cash out and retire at some point.
Yeah, right. To Bali, where you can live on Bitcoin. All right. So, what has happened since then? Well, in 2010, we actually had a real Bitcoin transaction. Somebody bought a pizza for 10,000 Bitcoins. So actually, let me see if I can get it. What is
Today's dollars?
what was the price? 333.
Yeah, 333.
Times 334. So that pizza cost $3,340,000. I hope it was good. Yeah, it did come with pepperoni. There was pepperoni on it.
Click the excellent button.
Oh yeah. I need like an assistant.
Okay.
Excellent.
Sorry, delayed reaction. Okay. Where was I? Oh, I lost my place. Sorry, guys. Oh.
Oops. There you go.
Okay. Okay, so that was the first time that someone actually bought something with Bitcoin. That was 2010. Then in 2011, this is when I discovered Bitcoin. The rise and fall of Bitcoin from November 23rd, 2011. What happened was the Silk Road. Silk Road happened, and the existence of Bitcoin hit Slashdot. You remember Slashdot, where geeks go to learn about things? I don't think Slashdot is as popular as it used to be. But the price went up to, I think, $26. Let's go back to our time machine and go out to 2011. So this is what the world looked like in the fall of 2011. And this was the rise and fall of Bitcoin. It spiked all the way up to $28, $29, and then it crashed down to $2.50. And they thought, oh, this experiment, it's over. It was fun while it lasted, and
That's when you got
oh well. That's when I first learned about it. I didn't buy Bitcoin at this time, but I was in the technology field. I was working in the payments industry, and I was like, man, this is like incredible. This is crazy. Okay, but they said it was going to be dead. So I read it. I was fascinated by it. Well, nothing really happened in all of 2012. Let me go back to this thing just kind of bumped along. Nothing happened. It was boring. I mean, really, people really did think it was dead. But then what happened? We had, oops. We had Cyprus. The spring of 2013. By the way, I quit my job in the fall of 2012. And Bitcoin, being my best buddy, responded by going up to, wow, hundreds of dollars. So this is when Cyprus hit. Let me go back to my. So do people remember Cyprus? Everybody? Should I tell the
story, though.
Basically, Cyprus, they realized that the banks in Cyprus were undercapitalized, otherwise known as broke or insolvent. Yes. And what they decided to do to solve the problem was to confiscate the deposits of their customers. So imagine it's Friday, you've got 1,000 euros in your account, and then on Monday, you've only got 600 euros on your account. But it was more like I had 250,000 euro, and I woke up and I had 150 or something. So yes, they decided to recapitalize the banks with the funds of their customers. And here, I'll play another one for you.
All we are is dust in the wind, dude.
That's how some people felt on that day. But anyway, it drove tremendous interest in Bitcoin because, well, do you remember from the white paper? It said you can send money from one person to another person with no trusted third party. That was the whole point. They wanted to create money that where you didn't have to rely on somebody else, because when you rely on somebody else, actually going way back even to ancient Rome, in Lydia, where they created money, it wasn't long after they created money that central authorities started debasing it, shaving coins and changing the content of coins, and it's been going on for time immemorial. And another thing happened in 2008. That was the global financial crisis, and it's almost like Bitcoin was like an answer to the problems that caused the global financial crisis in 2008. Okay, what else happened in 2013? Well, Bitcoin started to be, the price went through the roof, and Bitcoin started hitting the mainstream consciousness. And this kid, smart kid, showed up at an ESPN game and held up his Bitcoin address, machine readable, "Mom, send Bitcoins." And because the Bitcoin blockchain is an immutable ledger, we can actually see that address from way back on November 30th, 2013. He put this barcode up on the screen, and then, "Have fun at the game, honey. Love, Mom." And then all of this stuff, all of these Bitcoins started rolling in. And we're talking, some people started sending hundreds of dollars. And he ended up with, it's $7,000 in today's dollars, but at the time it was worth, I think, $12,000 or $15,000. Yeah, it was a big publicity stunt. But what's interesting is because it's on the blockchain, first of all, there's no other way. There was nothing else on planet Earth that he could have held above his head where anyone can send him money. That's pretty miraculous. What's also interesting is he went on to donate most of this money to charity, and you could also see that on the blockchain. I don't know exactly where it is. Yeah. Anyway, there's only $5 in there now, probably spam. Like that's sent to Satoshi, but that was pretty funny. when that happened. All right. November 2013, this was really exciting for me because this is when the United States Senate had hearings on Bitcoin, right? They all got together. There were lots of hearings with various government agencies, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Unit, the Secret Service. They all got together. And let's go back and take a look at our time machine. What happens? It goes crazy all the way up to $1,230. So this is me watching eating popcorn, watching the Senate hearings, just watching this thing go crazy, go from $166 all the way to $1,200, and it was pretty crazy. But the upshot of it is that these guys, they were like, it was like I think they call it a love fest. Senate hearings is a Bitcoin love fest. Like, you know, I expected them to be very threatened by what Bitcoin is and what it could do to the power of governments and central banks, because, I mean, this is the power that runs the world. The ability to create money is the fundamental power that governments wield over the hundreds of millions of citizens that they control. And so just giving that away to an algorithm, I just didn't think that the U.S. government would be all that happy about it. In fact, it had me scratching my head a little bit, like, why are they so friendly? But I think there's a lot of good, honest people that work in the huge bureaucracy of the government as well. And at least for now, or at this time.
What if that right isn't theirs anymore?
Agreed. I don't think we should be giving them
No, but I mean,
more power.
It was taken away.
What was taken away?
That right to control the printing of money, and actually the controls are elsewhere. So what if they want it back?
Well, even if you trust the people that are in office now, you never know what the people that are coming after will do. And I think, this is why Bitcoin is such an exciting invention of our time, because it takes that power away and gives it really to the people, or to a disinterested entity that can arbitrate fairly. And when things get a little uncomfortable, the algorithm's not going to care. Reality will bend to the situation in a fair way. So, and the fact that the U.S. government was not going to introduce any new legislation was why the price went through the roof. Now, there was another reason. Do you guys remember Mt. Gox?
Oh, yeah.
So this is from February 2014, but Mt. Gox, it was discovered later that the reason it went all the way up to $1,200 was Mt. Gox was a Bitcoin exchange. It was a place where you could go and buy and sell Bitcoins, and they were gaming the price. They had a robot on their servers buying and selling from one another in order to make people who are out in the real world think, oh, this is crazy. I have this fear of missing out. I better buy that Bitcoin at $800. Oh, at $900. Oh, at $1,000. I better buy twice as much because it's going to go to $10,000. And then, like what happens with the herd mentality is there's a hangover.
So before that, Silk Road shut down about a month before the Senate hearings. And I think a lot of people at the time thought that basically the American government will crack down on Bitcoin. And
well, the Senate hearings were in November 2013.
And Silk Road closed down about a month or 2 months before that.
Yeah. Silk Road did, yeah. And Mt. Gox closed after that.
Yeah. But Silk Road just closed. So there was this kind of atmosphere where people thought that possibly the government will crack down or ban Bitcoin. And the Senate hearings were pretty positive.
Right, that's true.
It was a big kind of euphoric reaction.
Right, because if they were cracking down on the dark web, and the dark web uses Bitcoin, and then they get together and talk about the legality of Bitcoin, you're right. I think we were expecting something a little more hawkish.
And based on that oil stock, so that was the first public listed company. It was a big company that accepted Bitcoin. And the CEO of that company said it was based on that decision that when he saw the Senate hearings that they're not going to ban Bitcoin, he made the decision to accept Bitcoin in his company.
And which company is this?
Overstock.
Overstock.
Yeah.
Overstock.com.
So that's when
Right, and subsequent to that, Dell Computer started accepting Bitcoin. Microsoft started accepting Bitcoin. You could donate to Wiki. You could donate to Wikipedia with Bitcoin. All these were high-profile companies that were kind of embracing the technology at the time. Okay, let's see. Where are we here? Of course, in March of 2014, we had Newsweek claiming to have discovered who the real Satoshi Nakamoto was. Basically ruined this poor guy's life. There was a guy named Dorian Satoshi Nakamoto, and he was like an old retiree of Japanese descent in Los Angeles who was thrown into the spotlight. And interestingly, did you guys know that Newsweek, like maybe a month or within a year before this issue was published, Newsweek sold itself to some totally new ownership, and they've got essentially this was totally shoddy journalism. I mean, it was obvious from the very first moment this guy was not Satoshi Nakamoto, and this was just a kind of a media grab at the time. But it did kind of mess up this guy's life for a little while. Yeah, it was kind of a bummer for him. But I think the Bitcoin community raised several $1,000s to make it up to him or something. Do you guys know there's a very prominent guy named Andreas Antonopoulos who actually went to his house and showed him how Bitcoin worked? Like he had no idea what Bitcoin was.
Right.
I mean, if these reporters had asked him one question, they would know that wasn't him. But anyway, made up for his moment in the limelight. And of course, Silk Road was shut down, just like you said. That also happened in 2014. And if we go back to the exchange rate, basically it's been a little bit boring ever since. This kind of reminds me of 2012. Remember back in 2012 after that first spike? Let's see if we can go back.
What time of year was the big spike in 2013?
In 2013, that's this one. April 9th, yeah.
Exactly 2 years ago.
But if you come over here, where are we? That first spike, and then 2012 was just nothing. It looked like nothing was happening. Like imagine this. Imagine you're looking at if you're looking at things here and you're just bumping along. 2015 was kind of like that, kind of in the doldrums, and then along came Cyprus. Of course, we've had this recent spike. There was a bump here. I think that's probably when Greece was happening. You guys remember Greece having its financial difficulties, and we saw a little bit of a bump in the price there. And then this is, let's zoom in a little bit. This is the last little bump, all the way up to 500 and back down, based on some activity in China. China has devalued their currency, implemented new currency controls, capital controls rather. What else? They've changed their interest rate. So,
and not the MMM pyramid.
The MMM pyramid is probably partly due to this fervor.
MMM?
Yeah, there's a big pyramid scheme, a Bitcoin pyramid scheme going on in all of across Asia, Indonesia too.
No.
Yeah, some of them tried to post to our group.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yes. Bad news.
I tried to buy some bitcoins there, but nobody wanted to sell. I wanted to buy this scheme.
Oh yeah, just to see how it works.
And waited 1 2 days, and then I deleted the email, and that's it. I don't remember the URL, because you go there and you say I want to come in. So you make a request, and then they send you an email. Okay, now you can send the Bitcoin so that you get this credits. So I waited 1-2 days, like refreshing, nothing happened. Nobody wanted to sell. But I don't think it has something to do. My opinion is this: this spike happened just after Money 2020 in Las Vegas, where all these private blockchains proliferated, and I think the smart money buy. Also now on Sunday, and today, huge volume of bit stuff, and it spiked into 350.
Yeah.
Somebody is buying, and so when somebody starts buying, then you get this echo and FOMO coming in. So I don't think it's the Chinese, or I think somebody is just accumulating.
Yeah. Well, it takes a lot of money to take a $5 billion market cap.
No. 5 billion. Where's your bitcoins don't move from your wallets, right? Mine either. So like many others,
Yeah.
It's very small. It's a very small.
That's true.
So I think if you want to buy for a couple of million, like $20 million, you're gonna move the market a lot.
Yeah. Well, they just had the auction.
If you're not careful.
Right. They just had the auction, and I think those coins sold for over $400 a piece.
Yeah, but they don't sell. Yeah, they don't sell on the exchange.
Right. But it shows you that if you were trying to move that much money, how much would it move the price? And it would apparently their evaluation is it would move at least that much.
Did they publish the price?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, somebody posted it in the group.
450?
Yeah, that was Itbit. I think paid $450 for their block.
Wow.
Yeah,
But they
incidentally.
need that for their exchange. They're running their bots on their everyone's running bots on their exchanges. We can see that even if Bitcoin is
So
Indonesia.
for those who are uninitiated, the confiscated bitcoins when they closed down the Silk Road, they confiscated something like $80 million worth of Bitcoin, and they've been auctioning them off from time to time, and they just did it recently.
14
And
million.
for $14 million worth. Anyway, all right. So there's a really cool site that I found that will take you all the way back to the beginning, and you can actually just click through each of these things, and it will tell you a little something about what happened with Bitcoin. There's the patent. Bitcoin.org is registered. The white paper is published. SourceForward project. So you can, if you want to, if you're interested, you can go and it gets very populated with items later on. But you can give yourself a little Bitcoin history lesson if you want to. If you want something a little more detailed, you can check that out. All right, that's all, folks. That's all I've got for you. Thank you for coming tonight. We do this every Tuesday night. We collaborate online while we're not together in person. We do that through the Twitter, #Bitcoins in Bali. If you have any questions that occur to you after the fact and you want us to reply, you can tweet us at #Bitcoins in Bali. We also collaborate and commune and conspire in this Bitcoins in Bali group. So if you find something that's interesting about Bitcoin, you can post it here, and we talk about it and kick it around. And if it's interesting, when we get together in person, we talk about it in person. So check that out. Join the group and post something good that maybe we wouldn't have found if you hadn't posted it. We have our own YouTube channel, and you'll see that this is actually going to be published up to YouTube right after I end this Google Hangout, and you can get updates if you just subscribe. I think we've only got 14 subscribers, so let's help us develop a subscriber base by subscribing to our YouTube channel. And sorry about that. Yeah, that's it, folks. Any questions? Deborah.
I've got a question.
Sure.
What's that article about Black Friday and Christmas and the Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Well, what he was saying, I didn't actually get a chance to look at it, but I think he's saying that there is what happens with when there's a lot of Bitcoin activity, it drives the price down because a lot of these merchants will turn right around and sell their Bitcoin on the open market. So if you've got there are these Bitcoin millionaires that just, they've just got lots and lots of money, and maybe they decide to buy all their Christmas gifts using Bitcoin on Amazon or Overstock.com or all these places where you can do that. It generates lots and lots of Bitcoin transactions, but these merchants will turn right around and sell all that Bitcoin on the open market, so it drives the price down. So
buying Christmas presents, right?
yes, yes, we can. Yeah, and you guys can check and see if Satoshi's Bitcoin moves in advance of the holiday season, just in case he's come upon hard times.
So now, did you say you can use Bitcoin on Amazon?
You can buy Amazon gift cards.
Can I buy Kindle books through Postio?
Through what?
Yes.
Through purse.io?
Yeah, this is how it goes, through Post.io.
Yeah, you can also buy on purse.io. The
can buy it
CEO
on
was here, by the way, at Hubud. Met him and his wife, very nice couple. And that's a great service. You can buy stuff on Amazon for like up to 25%, 30% off.
If you buy Bitcoin?
If yeah,
What's it called?
purse.io.
Yes.
PURSE.io. That was fascinating. What's that?
Why so large discount? I mean, they probably saved some money, like 5-10% maybe from
That was the
exchange rates and credit card fees and all that crap. But
that was the first question. Are you asking how do they offer 25% discount? That was my first question. And it turns out that there are Amazon credits that you can earn in many, many different ways. And people earn Amazon credits all over the world. In fact, I'm told in India there are ways, I don't know, they can do work for Amazon or do something where they earn all of this Amazon credit, but they can't turn they can only turn the Amazon credit into items from Amazon. And that's, once you've purchased all your GoPro cameras and Harry Potter books, maybe you run out of stuff. And Purse allows them to trade Amazon credit for Bitcoin, and they're willing sometimes to do it at a huge discount. It takes a while. I actually tried it, and if you want to take a lower percentage, it happens more quickly. But basically, you create a wish list, and then you say, I want 25% off, and then as soon as someone's willing to go for that deal, your transaction will happen, and Amazon will ship you your stuff that they buy for you, essentially. So, pretty cool. So watch out for the Black Friday phenomenon. Let's see if it happens again this year.
Get ready to buy.
Yes. According to this graph, we buy on Christmas Eve. So you guys can excuse yourself from the family. Say, I've got to go to the computer for a few hours. Please, you'll thank me later.
We're just going to park ourselves here at Ubud, right?
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
But by that token, the best time to report would be 2 weeks ago.
Oh, are we supposed to buy here?
When it was down there. Yeah.
Of course, this already happened.
Oh yeah, Black Friday is coming.
So this is, according to this graph, it's all merchant hype. That's why people are.
So if we bought now, it would be even.
Oh yeah, we might be in here. Yep, danger zone.
Well, the peak hit around the 5th or something like that, wasn't it?
Should we go to the time machine?
Let's go to the time machine.
That the $500, right? So
That was yeah.
November 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
November 4th. And how does that square with?
So then,
Doesn't.
it doesn't square so well the more and less things we say.
You mean this graph is not totally accurate? That's crazy.
Well, unless Black Friday, unless it could be. If Black Friday is 1,000, if Black Friday is $1,000, then it's accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent!
All right, guys. Thanks for coming tonight. And we'll see you next week, 5 o'clock, local time in Bali. See you then.